it's one pagan writing to another pagan, telling him what the Christians are telling him, the
Yeah.
apostates are telling him. And so he's not giving a theological rationale for, what they did, but simply describing their activities. But, Pliny says that it was their custom to assemble before daylight on a fixed day, stated day. And he doesn't specify what day it is, but the other records from the time make it very clear that the day on which Christians would assemble, on which it was their custom to assemble, is the first day of the week, the Lord's Day.
Yeah.
Justin Martyr makes that clear. The Didache makes that clear. The letters of Ignatius, Epistle of Barnabas, and several other documents we have say
I don't
that.
know about Texans, but we're going to have a hard enough time getting people to come to 9:30 service on time. I don't
Instead
know
of
about
before
before
daylight. Yeah.
daylight, right?
Well, there's a reason they may have assembled on the first day of the week
Yeah.
before daylight. And the reason some scholars believe is because that was a work day.
Yeah.
They
Very
had to
much
go to
so.
work after they
Interesting.
assembled. Yeah.
Well, it leads to other questions, but
Right. And we'll get back to that in just a second, because the Christians would also assemble in the evening on the first day of the week, as we're going to see in a minute. But another thing we notice here in this account of Christian worship is that it was the custom of believers, when they assembled on a stated day, most likely Sunday, they did so to praise Christ by singing a song in honor of him as if to a god. Pliny says it was their habit to assemble before daylight on a fixed day and to sing responsively or antiphonally a song to Christ, Carmen Christi, a song to Christ as to a god. Now, the verb translated there to sing is decere, and another scholar by the name of Alan Cabanas, in a book entitled Patterns in Early Christian Worship, which I don't have a copy of. I don't have the book
yeah.
here. I checked it out of a library. But it is a good book, interesting book. Cabanas says, decere can mean simply to speak, to say, or utter, but used with Carmen, translated song, it can mean to sing, celebrate, or speak in a solemn voice, that is, chant. And here it probably means to chant. And then he adds, chanting is not in the proper sense singing, it is a mode of reading or reciting with a voice elevated in an emotional, ecstatic, or religious manner, similar to and for the same purpose as cantillation of scripture in the synagogue liturgy. Now, I think it's interesting if you compare what Pliny says here in his letter regarding singing responsively a song to Christ as to a god, a Carmen or hymn to Christ as to a god. If you compare the words he uses with what Paul writes in Ephesians 5:19 and Colossians 3:16, the expressions are very similar. So the apostates informed Pliny that believers would sing responsively, antiphonally, alternately, by turns, a song to Christ as to a god. Now, some scholars conjecture that refers to a New Testament Christological hymn. For example, the Carmen Christi, the song to Christ in Philippians 2, verses 5 through 11, or perhaps
Right.
Colossians 1, verses 15 through 20.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the great books on the subject is by Ralph P. Martin, entitled Carmen Christi. Excellent book, and there are other books out there too on the same topic. And this is interesting. I do believe that that is only speculation, but it is plausible for a few reasons. One reason is that those New Testament Christological hymns are usually associated with Christian baptism, which is probably significant with regard to Pliny's letter,
Really?
because, right, we'll see it in just a second. The apostates tell Pliny that it was their custom when they assembled on Sunday to bind themselves with an oath.